necessarily mean that you know him closely. I've never met Trump, but I can write a book on Trump already now, if I wanted to. I've never met VP Osinbajo, for example, but I can write a book about him. And he once said that I am someone that he watches closely, but we have never met. This is a fact. So I was trying to say that Shekau will never take credit for an attack that he does not have a hand in. I'm not aware that he ever claimed responsibility for an attack that he didn't carry out. Right now in the Northeast, the bulk of the terror attacks are not from Shekau. They are from the Banawi faction, which is the faction that Islamic State supports. They are better funded, they have better weapons, and they have greater capability than Shekau. They are the ones who attack soldiers. When you see attacks on civilians, the burning of people's houses, most of the time it's Shekau people stealing people's food. The Shekau people. It does not even have that capacity anymore. So I'm saying, and I've never had a situation in which the Albanawi faction carried out an attack. That's the point I was trying to make.
Right.
And exaggeration itself is a figure of speech. That is what is called hyperbole. You know, we all, at least in secondary school, they taught us these things. So you could say, for example, oh, I caught a fish so large, larger than my house. That's an exaggeration. It is hyperbole. It may not, for people who want to take the word literally, then they are confusing themselves. That's not exactly what I meant. I was reading an article by a music writer some time ago, and he was trying to describe Whitney Houston. And he said Whitney Houston is a woman with a tremendous vocal range and legs so long they seem endless. Legs so long they seem endless. Immediately I read that, I went to check a picture of Whitney Houston standing, and I saw that indeed she had long legs. But the writer conveyed the meaning in a manner that reinforces the point I was trying to make.
Right.
You know, so I looked at those legs really, they look really long, but they don't look endless.
Yes.
Yes, so that is the thing. Exaggeration is a figure of speech.
Out of context.
For a reason. The people who are not out for mischief, who do not particularly hate the fact that we say the truth, you are not going to hear them complain about that. They know the point I'm trying to make. Shekau was involved in this thing. I can hear some propagandists trying to say Shekau had no hand in this thing. But even the boys, the boy who was the leader, who was mandated to speak for the Kankara boys, he said the bandits were telling him what to say, and they were telling him, mention Shekau, mention Boko Haram, because there were three main leaders of bandits involved in that Kankara attack. Shekau was working with one, but the one he was working with was not actually the strongest. If you read the Daily Trust account, you have an idea of Shekau's role in this whole thing. At the end of the day, the governor of Zamfara and other people, they moved quickly. They negotiated with the other bandits, and Shekau was shot out. By the time we started thinking, oh, how do we get out of I'm going to send a vehicle, he wanted to send a vehicle to them so that those boys would be moved to another person that he trusted more. But by that time, the birds had flown. They had completely shut him out of the whole negotiation, the whole equation. But if he was not involved, as some people want us to believe, how come the video of the boys was released by the Shekau faction of Boko Haram? So you cannot say he was not involved. So this is the thing. He was shot out at the last minute because they moved fast to negotiate with the other people, and then effectively they took him out of the picture. But to deceive yourself that, oh, Shekau was not involved is a liar. They wanted to reinforce. And the point I was making was that I was sure that Shekau was involved in the thing. I've not seen any evidence that he was not involved. From the interviews that the boys have granted, from the video that that was released of those boys, which emanated from his group, you cannot say that he was not involved in this thing.
Well, we get to discuss this deeper in the next segment of the show. But let's look at the issue at hand, which is the COVID-19 directive from the Lagos State governor to, all centers to cut down the gathering and, reduce the level at which people interact so as we do not have a spike in infections. Now, Dr., when you see this directive from the Lagos State government, many are beginning to say, are we likely to see a second wave, even though it is getting to that point? What do you make of this? And do you think perhaps this is enough to cut down the spread of the pandemic?
Well, I think we're already in the second wave, if you ask me. The figures in the last 4 days are quite clear that we've gone in that direction. In the last 4 days, we've never had such a figure or such figures that we've had since the pandemic spread into Nigeria in February. Now, today, the figure we had for yesterday was 930. The figure for Friday was 1,145, excluding the FCT, which is likely going to become the epicenter. In a matter of days. The day before that, it was 806, and then the day before, it was 920. Prior to these figures, what we have had was less than 800. So it shows we are moving in a particular direction. There was a warning before now that Nigeria should watch travelers who are coming into Nigeria for holiday. It was a very sound and clear warning. But the solution attached to it wasn't really a solution for Nigeria. And that was the fact that we should close international travels. For me, that doesn't add up now, especially now that we are trying to recover economically.
Right.
It doesn't add up. Because if you ban all the flights again, then it means we are going to have fewer money coming into the country in terms of patronage. So here we are. What do we need to do? It still remains the same thing that government has been preaching. That is, mask up, limit unnecessary interactions, any gathering at all, even if it's just 2 people involved. Once it's not necessary, once it's not compulsory, there's no point engaging. Just stay where you are. This is off, but for a while. Look at those who come into the country, for instance. You have a single man coming into Nigeria, and you have about 30 people waiting to welcome him at the airport. Those 30 people, they hug him, they kiss him, they do all of that. And those 30 people, again, move on to interact with others. And this man comes into the country, for instance, is heading in the direction of maybe the southeast. The test he has paid for, he's unable to do it again after 7 days. So by the time he's leaving, all those he has interacted with, those who have interacted with, those he has interacted with, will become a danger unto ourselves. So I still think, like the governor said, we should focus on limiting social gatherings.
Right.
Whichever way we are going to do it. Some people are already sending out messages that are not from the government, that if you are caught without a face mask, we are going to pay 25,000 and all of the rest. I think, like we have been saying on this program, this thing is a matter of personal conviction. You must know that your own life is at risk when you do all of these things. And I think that is where government needs to lay emphasis. Because you cannot, especially now with the issue with the police, you cannot now enforce all of these things. How many, even with putting all the soldiers, everybody to do this job, how many people are you going to arrest? So it's a matter of being personally convinced that, look, don't let me be a danger unto myself and to others.
In other words, your health is in your hands.
Yes, it's in your hands.
So, Jide, when we heard the government placing restrictions on worship centers That is to ensure that there isn't a gathering of that will exceed 2 hours, and of course, 50% capacity makes maximum capacity of the venue. What is the likely possibility now that this enforcement will be complied with? Because how many centers, how many churches, how many gatherings are you going to ensure everyone keeps to this new rule?
The truth really is that it wasn't as if that rule was relaxed. That rule was at no point relaxed. In allowing worship centers to reopen, these were the conditions that government insisted they must comply with. And no one relaxed it. They were not told that, okay, you can go back to your full capacity and all that. No. So what government has simply done now is to reinforce that stipulation that was there. Our people have come to the belief that we've seen the worst of this thing, and that's the way the governor described it. And he's saying, look, stop imagining that we've seen the worst of it. It's still very much here. So the truth is, every time you open up, you should expect a spike in cases. Once you open up, you came up with a lockdown. By the time you try to ease things, then you should expect that people will, the fact that you've eased things will cause more people to be infected. And once you also improve on testing capacity, it is inevitable that
you have a rise in cases.
Yes, there will be a rise in the number of cases. So that is what we are seeing now. But the truth is, some months back, nightclubs, strip bars were not allowed to open. Drinking dens were not allowed to open. But today, they are in full flow. And you know, when you get into a nightclub or even a strip bar, it's a choked up environment. It's a fertile ground for COVID-19 to spread, because people are having sweaty contacts, people are hugging, people are kissing, you know. No inhibition of any sort. And everyone feels that, look, this is an environment where I have the freedom to do what I like. And it's usually choked up, everybody dancing, you know. So there's no way that we won't have a spike. And you can see that those governors, starting with the governor of Kaduna, a man I respect for the fact that he is always eager to take he's always ready to take the big decisions. He doesn't care about what I call Ariwoja. I wish I can imbibe some of those qualities, some of those virtues from him. Not really bothering himself about the empty noises that people make. He is concerned about the public good. How he achieves it, he doesn't really, whether he hurts people, he doesn't really care. As far as he's concerned, as far as he's convinced that it is for the good of the generality of the people, Malam El-Rufai would take that decision. He's taking the decision to shut schools, taking the decision to say, okay, clubs, you can't open again. And I can see that states are beginning to fall in. States too are shutting their schools, although some of them for security reasons, but it is the way to go now. Children are very vulnerable. So it's better that we let them, we let schools close immediately, so that at least those children, we can keep them safe. And I'm happy the governor of Lagos State has gone back to his earlier policy of having levels 1 to 14. Staff on levels 1 to 14 stay at home. Work from home. You can work from home. Let's reduce the congestion in Alausa, for example, which is the seat of power. So taking some measures that, God willing, will help us check the spread of this thing. We can't stop it. It's a disease that has come to stay with us. Just like flu, and other diseases. But at least we can stop the explosion. We've seen countries that have successfully defeated it, not eradicated it, but defeated it, brought it under control. That is what we should be aspiring to do as a country.
All right, finally, Jide, I'm sorry, Dr. If you are to look at this situation critically, some communities in Lagos, we know that they have overcrowded and they lack sanitation and, of course, potable water. Now, what do you think can be done to address this concern, even as we are battling a second wave?
Well, for Lagos, that will be very tough, especially if what we want to achieve is immediate. That is right away. It's going to be tough. But we can still apply these measures that have been stated. It was just like when we had the first, we had policemen who were stopping members of the same family in a car, asking why they are 5 or 6, and it's a family of a mother, father, and 3 children. Do you want them to dump one of those kids somewhere or where? So it's a bit difficult. It's going to be tough because even where you say, look, this place is crowded, and a family of 6 or 8 can afford only 1 room, it's going to be tough. So what we need to do is to continually monitor our behavior.
Right.
Our behavior is very important. Use your face mask when you go out. When you have your own family, you want to eat, you want to do dinner or lunch, you can't put on the face mask. So it's what you do outside that matters most at this time.
All right, let's move to our next segment now. The abducted schoolboys of Kano, of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State, are back home from the den of their kidnappers. But the issue continues to stir comments. While the students have given conditions for returning to school, the president is also taking stocks of the event. And after some highlight, the president said abduction of the 344 students was targeted at embarrassing his administration. And he explained that it wasn't a coincidence that the bandits struck on the very day he visited his hometown, Daura. Meanwhile, there is a disquiet in the Senate over worsening insecurity in the land. And during the week, the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army, Senator Ali Ndume, spoke to the conscience of members of the upper chamber of the National Assembly, and he said it is time for the Senate stood up for appropriate action to salvage the country. Let's hear him.
We have lamented enough. We had various public hearings. Under your leadership, you led 2 committees twice. You made far-reaching recommendations. We said here last week, none was implemented. We came here, invited several times the service chiefs and whoever matters in this issue of insecurity. And nothing was done. Instead, the situation is getting worse. Mr. President, at this time now, I think most of us, when such thing happens, we begin to wonder whether to say something or just to keep quiet. But as you said, we can't keep quiet. But then, we can't continue talking without result. And I appreciate the fact that you now say we should think outside the box. That may be the solution. And let me remind everyone here, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim, we are leaders in this country. We have a responsibility. God will ask us, one after the other, what did you do as a senator? What did you do as a senator? I'm not a pastor or a malam, but I'm just reminding us what we know. And maybe that will touch our conscience. You can't start hiding under party or anything. We are leaders that are entrusted by our people to come and speak on their behalf. Not only speaking on their behalf, to do anything constitutional. And we know that why government is there is security and welfare of its citizens. I said last time, Mr. President, and we closely took the resolutions, and it's another week now. We cannot continue like this. We have to tell ourselves the truth. We have to stop talking to cameras and then, like more or less, people will start thinking that we are just grandstanding. We should sit down within ourselves and say it as it is and take appropriate actions. Mr. President, if you have any problem with that, allow the Senate to do it. We understand your position. You're in a difficult position. But let me tell you, Mr. President, God will ask you. Wallahi. So, Mr. President, God will ask all of us, but you will be in the front. I will say, I've told the Senate President. Maybe that will help me. But that's not a joke. Wallahi, we need to. Enough is enough of this. Enough is enough of us coming here to stand and talk. Even the one I'm saying now, when it will not matter. But it can. This is not the end. The Constitution is clear. It did not limit what we can do. The limit, we have not reached the limit. Let us consider it and see if we have to go further. And you must lead. Because that is what you swore to do, to protect the lives of Nigerians is number one. In fact, it's why we are here. The government basic responsibility is security and welfare of its citizens. So, Mr. President, I want to conclude that yes, these motions are there. I did not speak on Katsina, not because I don't care about it, but everybody must have a chance to say something. And I believe that if you allow us, everybody has something to say, a little bit different from what we are talking about. Mr. President, you said we should think outside the box. We should not stop talking. We should not stop doing what we need to do. Mr. President, I'm waiting for you, and we are waiting for you to lead. And we need to close ourselves and talk to ourselves and see what we can do. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I finally want to add to the prayers that this Senate should also, as you went to Borno, send a delegation to Tumbul to see the conditions of our people. For 6 years, we have over 120,000 Nigerian refugees internally displaced in Niger. Up to now, we have 60,000 internally displaced refugees from my local government in Cameroon. Only God knows the condition they are living. They cannot feed themselves. They are more or less in a prison, in a camp, and they can't move freely. And the handouts given to them sometimes is not even there. We have to do something, Mr. President. We, as the Senate, and as you said, we are bipartisan, and that means we give you all the support. You need to lead, and we need to do something. If we reach the end, Nigerians will be with us because we have tried. It will show that we have done our best, and maybe the best is not enough.
Well, enough is enough. That's from Senator Ali Ndume speaking there at the floor of the Senate. Jide, when you were listening to his comments, what was running through your mind? Because, so many comments, and obviously it is a senator who is unhappy about the security situation in the country at the moment. How would you react to what he said on the floor?
When Senator Ndume speaks like this, I see in him a man who has conscience. Many people do not have conscience, so they prefer not to say the truth. They claim to be Christians or Muslims, but their ways are far from the ways of God, or the Holy Prophet, or Jesus Christ. If it's difficult for you to see black and call it what it is, you are a disgrace. if it's difficult for you to speak the truth, because you don't want to be seen, he's not a party man, why is he talking this manner? Then you don't have conscience. You are an hypocrite. Where we have found ourselves now, it is imperative to speak the truth. And more people are speaking the truth. They are talking about the security situation. It is not out of hatred for anyone. It's just a way of saying, look, Mr. President, do the needful. I listened to an Hausa musician the other day. He calls himself Farfasa Waka, meaning professor of music. He said, "Why Shugaban Kasa mekeke jirani?"
What does that mean?
Mr. President, what are you waiting for? Because you have the power. Take the necessary steps. And in his song, Farfasa Waka was saying, we love you. We pray for you all the time. But we are being killed. Won't you do something about it? We are being killed. You go to Katsina, a good number of people in Katsina are already IDPs in the state because of insecurity. Up till now in Benue, there are still so many IDPs caused by the conflict between herders and farmers. Yes, we've achieved some measure of stability in that area. The same thing in Jos, where General Okonkwo is doing a fantastic job. Those who say I don't praise the army, they are usually deaf when we talk like this. General Okonkwo is doing a fantastic job under Operation Safe Haven in Jos. People testify to the fantastic work that he's doing. And it's the same way that Yekin, who is in charge of Nasarawa, Benue, and Taraba, that's the same success that Yekin is recording. I've never met them. If they call me, I may not go pick their call. Many of them that I have praised, I don't need to know them. For 4 years, General Adeosun was doing a good work, a good job in Operation Lafia Dole in the Northeast. I started praising him from 2014. You know when I saw him for the first time? It was in Maiduguri in 2018. He was there on that day. That was the first day that I saw him. And it was the first day that I saw the Chief of Army Staff too. And since then, I've not met any of them. I don't have to know you to praise you. Rogers Nicholas, the general, who in my view remains the best Operation Lafia Dole commander ever. I've never met him. I don't know how he looks. But if you are doing a good job, praise will come your way. People will praise you. They will pray for you because they will want you to continue. That's the way it is. It is not a personal thing. But where you don't deserve to be praised, I'm not an hypocrite. I will not come and praise you. It's not that cheap from my mouth. You have to earn it. And if I don't praise people who are not doing well enough, it doesn't mean I hate them. It is cheap people who go on saying, oh, he doesn't like these people, he doesn't. But when he chooses to praise those who work, you will not hear them utter a word. But the job of the journalist is not simply to be praising people. The job of the journalist is to identify those things that this community needs to improve upon. Is to draw the attention of the people in power to the things that the community needs desperately, to the things that the community needs to survive. Because it's a covenant. When you elect your leaders, it's a social contract. And that's the point. People like Ndume now, I'm sure a lot of people will start calling them names. In fact, I saw a ridiculous story the other day that some people were even calling for the arrest of Kashim Shettima. What did he say? Because he criticized the president. The president has not sent them. This president, whether you criticize him or not, he will not make you an enemy. It's the sort of president who will see a dinner and see a great team. They will play, they will crack jokes. But the psychophants, the incurable psychophants, they are the ones who cause all the problem. And when you search their hearts, they truly do not want the progress of our nation. All that they want is their own individual progress. So it makes sense for our lawmakers, because we abuse them, they take a lot of stick from us. We accuse them, they earn so much money, they are not doing anything. It makes sense when they are telling the government that, look, we need improvement in this area, we need improvement in this area. During the Bukola Saraki era as Senate President, we accused the Senate of being adversarial, of fighting the government, of not cooperating with the government. What are we going to say with Lawan-led Senate now? Because Lawan said, whatever the president wants, we do. I thought, even if that was in his heart, it was too tactless of him to say that. But he said it, I believe, meaning that, look, we are ready to help this president to succeed. But the president must show respect to them by at least implementing some of the suggestions that they are coming up with. This Senate suggested that the president should take some actions on NDDC. The president has refused to take action on the report. So people do the oversight, they sit down for weeks, come up with a report, and then at the end of the day, nothing gets done. It can demoralize them. And on security, they've come up with all kinds of ideas. None of those suggestions have been implemented. That is why someone like Ndume, I once said that Ndume cannot visit his village. He dare not.
Why?
So that Boko Haram is slaughtering. You are asking why? You can ask questions. It's not. When I said many people Ajide likes to exaggerate, he praises Boko Haram. You know that. It's the reality. He cannot visit his village. His village is Ambagda, in Goza local government. He has not visited the place. He has confessed too that he cannot go. So one is not coming here to say, to invent things. I know the area. I go there. I know the places that are not safe.
Indeed. Let's quickly take this call. Omotayo from Lagos. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Good afternoon, Esther. Good afternoon, Metro BKO.
I agree too.
While I was holding on, when you were asking BKO why Senator Ali Ndume cannot visit his hometown, I was laughing.
It's a funny question.
BKO has been saying it, and we know he's giving us the fact. Well, BKO, this is my first time of calling on journalist angles. And the reason why I try to call in today is you are always bothering yourself on all these wailers, attacking you either on social media. I read some on your Facebook page. Forget about these people. You are own Jagaban on journalism. We appreciate your work.
Thanks.
At least I follow you back to back. When it's time, ask my children. They know my only channel is TVC, and the program I watch is, if I didn't watch this morning, I watch Journalist Hangout and Your View. So go on with your good work. We are for you. We are your soldiers, and we are always praying for you. My regards to Ayo Zubaku.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Omotayo, for your contributions there. So, Dotun, now that Jide has given his position on this matter, the boys are back, we know. Still, the government has promised to upgrade the security structure in the country and ensure, well, more safety, perhaps. But what do you make of this? Even though there's so much that the government needs to do to guarantee the safety of Nigerians, not just in the north, but generally at large.
Thank you, Esther. Let me make a comment on those who attack Babajide. What I've seen, and which I've said a few times on this program, is that a lot of Nigerians don't read. So we lack information. When you read and you follow issues, when some positions are taken, the likelihood is you get it without anybody explaining it to you. And that's apart from those who naturally don't want any good for the country. They don't want the truth to be said, because once you say it, it affects their income. So in this case, there are people who are not even knowledgeable. Some people don't even know, as we speak now, that Boko Haram is in factions. They don't know.
They think that it's just a
It's just one. It's not. So you must know as you progress who is likely, even when they tell you mode of operation.
Yes.
Which faction is likely to have carried out this attack? I don't need anyone to tell you. And in reality, what happened in Kankara was clear to those who have been following events that it was not a one-group show. It was planned. It was planned. And what we should now expect, following on that, is that small groups that are existing, who are bandits, would likely take advantage of this.
They'll be emboldened.
They'll be emboldened. And that was what happened yesterday in Katsina, where 80 students 80 students. The bandits already had 4 people with them.
Yes.
And then they took 80 students of Islamia. So, for instance, how do you now, if you are sensitive and you are knowledgeable, attribute that to Boko Haram? Boko Haram has said it clearly. Everybody who goes for Western education, we're going to take out. But for those who are in Islamia and all the rest, we are going to leave because they believe in our own. So if somebody now wakes up and says, Boko Haram kidnapped those 80 students who are of the Islamia education, then somebody should be checking that person for lack of information. Because obviously Boko Haram will not do that, knowing where they were from a Maluk program. So we need, as Nigerians, to get up to read the reality by reading. We don't just need to go on social media where people make noise to get our information. We need to be grounded in facts and figures.
The level of ignorance is
high. So high.
I see people coming with anchors of programs. Whereas anchors of programs, they don't answer questions. They ask questions.
They ask questions.
And you are now comparing me. No, that person is better than is more objective. Does he give opinion? He does not give his opinion. His own duty is to ask questions. I can't just get it.
It's even been said on this program so many times that those who discuss provide the information.
Right.
And that information is coming from the knowledge that they have for the situation. Right. It's not people coming here to say, you must have an opinion. You must be able to provide information. For instance, I don't know if you remember the day we discussed the issue of the structure of providing information by the military to the general public. A week after, the structure was changed. The defense secretary took its place.
All right, let's quickly take this call from London. We have Ade standing by. Please go ahead with your contribution, Ade.
Good afternoon. Happy Sunday to you all.
Same here.
You people are doing a good job. I'm just calling to encourage Babajide. Babajide, don't worry yourself about anybody who criticizes you. That means you are doing a good job. You see, you are more popular than Obama. We love you in diaspora here. So you don't have any problem. All you need to do is you look for a beautiful song, sing for them. And they are the one that has the problem. And with regard to the what is the situation of security, all we need to be doing is just to be praying, because we have nothing to do now than to pray in Nigeria, because the way we are hearing people kidnap, kill is frightening. More frightening is about the COVID-19, because of the vaccine. It's not yet available in Nigeria. Even though when it's available, maybe it will be the elite. So all we need is praying. Finally, we have not been seeing you for over an hour. I'm just talking now. I hear only your voice. Your TV is not clear. It's not showing at all. Over an hour in UK. So we're just hearing your audio. That's all.
All right, we'll get at the dress.
Thank you very
much.
Okay, so to conclude on that. Now, if this program has helped at that level in restoring order into some, then we should be praising those who come here to express their opinion and provide, especially those who are social media influencers, provide the facts and the figures, and not the fallacies, and not the things that will tend to divide the country. Now, let me also comment on what Senator Onugbe said.
Right.
Now, we've had people who purely take positions on national issues based on party lines. What a lot of people in the All Progressive Congress, what they have been doing is just to say, look, this man, President Muhammadu Buhari, was elected on the platform of our party. Whether he has done nothing or he has done something, we must keep praising him. We must keep defending him. I disagree with that. I think one other man in APC that I've come to give some regard is the Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum. He's doing a good job too. You need to speak truth to power, like we always say.
Right.
For instance, when the issue in Kankara occurred, and the APC spokesman, Yakini Nabela, decided that he wanted to blame the Zamfara state governor for what has happened. This man came out at the APC press corps summit and said, no, that was wrong. That's not the way to go.
That's the person who helped them all.
That's the person who helped you in bringing back these children. Why should we politicize this issue? Wherever credit needs to go, please, we should let it go there. If we are talking of getting the security situation right, no idea, especially at the level of governors and those who have witnessed these things, should be just sitting. Look at the Zamfara state governor. Fine, they still have challenges there. But to a large extent, from what he met on ground, that state is calm now. What he met on ground, you cannot say
a lot worse.
10% of it is happening now. You can't. So for a man like that, for APC to now believe that because he was elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party,
right,
you must now attack him. It's so wrong. We need people like that to come on board and say, look, these were the things I did. As, it might be the wrong language, as cantankerous as they feel that the River State governor is, there's something we need to learn from him. He was elected on the platform of the PDP, but the APC can benefit from it. How have you been doing it in Rivers? Because you cannot compare the situation today in Rivers to what it was in the past. To what it was in Rivers, especially Port Harcourt, even during the time, you can't move freely. But things are getting better. So how are you doing it? Can we tap from your knowledge? You can go to Delta, where we used to be a no man's land, where every thug was in charge, and learn from there. It's not solely about this man is my party man. So whether he's right or he's wrong, we must kill him.
All right. We have a caller from Kebbi State. Aliyu, please go ahead with your contribution. Hello, Aliyu, if you can hear me, please go ahead with your contribution.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Aliyu. I'm calling to encourage our mentor, Babaji Tukulaji, to please disregard those people that are saying, writing nonsense on his Facebook. We actually are proud of him, and we like his effort towards the future of our country. So you should please disregard those people.
Thank you.
And I also disagree with Mr. Dutu, because he said Boko Haram cannot kidnap a school. I want you to know that Boko Haram are not true Islamic practicing people.
Yeah, we know.
So they can kidnap anyone.
They can.
Yes.
They've attacked mosques before.
Yes, they are.
So they attack mosques, they attack this thing, everyone. So those are not true Muslims, as far as we are concerned.
They are not Muslims.
So take note of that.
Yes,
all right, thank you very much for your contribution. So
I'm just saying in the case of Boko Haram, that there are people who claim to be. Who claim to be. Because when you look at the way they've handled issues, once something happens, one faction says, yes, we are the true Boko Haram and we will never do this. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't say they are Boko Haram.
There are even different factions.
Yeah, different factions. So with them,
but let's look at this situation where the president says all that is happening is meant to embarrass his administration. Jay, do you think this is what is happening?
No, I disagree. Those guys are criminals. They want to make money, and they believe that kidnapping is one route to riches. So whether the president was there or not, they will still have carried out that attack. In any case, this kind of attack is usually planned. It takes time to plan this kind of operation. And the president's visit to Daura, the notice was short. So they must have been planning this thing for some time, and when it was time to execute it, they executed it. The president should see every attack, whether in Katsina or in Maiduguri or in Lagos. Any attack that terrorists or bandits successfully carried out is an embarrassment to the president, whether it was carried out in his home state or not. So that's the way I want him to see those attacks. So, and he has to do the needful. It's not Did they not? If he leaves that place today, if they have the opportunity, they will carry out the same attack. These are people who have kidnapped his own in-law before. They kidnapped his in-law now. You know?
Even attack the emir's palace.
So these are not people who are going after emirs. They want to kill emirs. Look at what they did to the emir of Portiscombe. They did a similar thing to the emir of Kawanamada. So they are on the loose. They are holding us by the jugular, and just as the Farfasa Waka said, Shugaban Kasa Mekeke Jirani. So do use your good office as president to bring this whole thing to an end. Whether it is Boko Haram killing people or kidnapping people on the highway, all of them are embarrassment. It doesn't matter where it happens. All of them, even if attack happens inside TVC premises, it's still embarrassment to the government. That's the way I want him to see things.
And still on this Kankara attack now, the students, which we rightly see in the picture now, screen now, interacting with the president, have also given their conditions before they return to school, even though the president has assured that there will be security top-notch for them and also encourages them to go back to school, which should not be traded for anything else. Do you think the students will go back?
I think that when you want to achieve much in that regard, it's not the children that you go and talk to. It's their parents. They have parents. And those parents endured days of agony waiting in that school premises. So you've got to engage their parents. I would have wanted the president, I would have loved to see the president address the parents. Because, see, Western education, already we are experiencing high rate of out-of-school children. And this is happening. It will discourage parents from sending their children to school. In an educationally disadvantaged environment. So the president or the governor of the state needs to engage those parents and calm them down, give them assurances. But I don't think that it makes sense to keep the school where it is. You must relocate the school. Something similar, the Borno State government did something similar with the Federal Government College, Monguno. They've relocated the Federal Government Guest College, Monguno, to the state capital. Because how do you, the Monguno-Maduguri highway is one of the most dangerous highways in our country. Boko Haram consistently kidnaps people. Go and check so many cases of kidnapped by Boko Haram on the highway. We can't police the highway successfully. And it's only Monguno, that town alone, that is really safe in that local government. So if children will be driving, you have to bring them by road, because there's no airport there. You have to bring them by road to school. The possibility of kidnap is very high. So that we don't experience the sort of thing that happened in Chibok. So they decided to relocate that Unity School. They are now using the Muhammadu Buhari Academy. They are now using it as their school. So I feel for those students, and I think they made a very valid observation. I know where their school is. I know that I've been to that area before. I know that, look, that area is not safe because of the forests so close to the school and hills. If you are going to dance about, you will see so many hills, some of them picturesque, very beautiful, but these are areas where bandits can hide.
Well, let's hold your thoughts for now. We need to take this call. Ogu from Lagos State, please go ahead with your contribution. Ogu, can you hear me? If you can, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I'm good afternoon, Mr. Babajide.
Thank you.
I would like to contribute on the question about the Mr. President. You see, Mr. President, the problem he has is not even. The real problem is that it's people surrounding him. Look, the other day I was watching at this radio station, and I saw that the chairman of Governor Forum, Mr. Kankara, they were telling Nigerians that maybe when we were asking that why is the president not speaking to Nigerians, he was saying that maybe the president we have does not want to speak with the Nigerian people. But I was watching the TV in France. When one person just went to the restaurant and seeing one person start, and I saw the president walking straight to that restaurant to go and find out. Then after 10 or 5 people in Nigeria, you will find out who is the governor of the governor forum was telling Nigerian that maybe we have type of president that doesn't want to talk, so Garba will have to talk, so Lai Mohammed has to talk, and I was even wondering if this the past lawyer is there, as always this Kiamu, that is always talking. But since he's been there, we have not been getting him, but again, he has not been saying anything. He always challenged the government before, but he's not talking. So it's find out that everyone that's surrounding with Mr. President is because of this issue. It's not even the president himself. What the president himself, but he work with them, and he has talked with them. And it's what they're telling him that he's not even listening to we that voted it more. So, we appreciate what you're doing.
All right, Ogbu, thank you very much for your contributions there. We appreciate all you said on the show this afternoon. So, Babajide, you were raising concerns on the location of the school, and you're asking that the government does the needful in terms of, ensuring that the safety of the students is paramount. Because when you talk about a school located in the heart of a dense bush, and you have nothing
on the way that leads through the forest.
Exactly. So there should be more that should be that should not be left to be desired. So definitely the government needs to up its game in ensuring that people or students should be well secured. But talking about out of school children, which is another major concern you raised here, what do you think will be the likely implications? Because already we're having a rise of out-of-school children owing to this, rising cases of abduction. We've had the case of Chibok. We've now had this case of Kankara, and then we've also had another one that happened not too long ago after this Katsina abduction. That's in the same Katsina city that this happened. What do you make of this? Because when you're having children being abducted ceaselessly, and there is this concern that you will have a number of them who will not even be trained or be raised into becoming good adults, that have a future in the end. What do you make of the likely implications that we might have at our hands?
You see, school should be a pleasurable place for children. Because at that age, if you make them like school exceedingly, chances are that you'll be able to raise fantastic leaders out of them in the final analysis. But if school becomes a place where children are not even sure that they are safe, they will not want to go. If a child has to live with bullies in the school, every day going to school will be a terrifying experience. Until that bully is sorted out. In this situation, these boys, they know that they could have died. I've been listening to some of their accounts, though in Hausa, you see that they really suffered in that, in the hands of these guys. Sometimes they were flogged, and it was a nasty experience. If you come back from such an experience in one piece, you will not want it to happen to you again. Look at the Chibok girls. There are still more than 100 of them
still missing
that we have not been able to free. Sure. These ones were lucky; they were freed. As far as I'm concerned, no shot was fired, and they were freed, not rescued. Because I'm hearing rescue. No, from the account of those boys, there was no rescue. They were freed. So, but it still doesn't negate the fact that they are afraid, and they are saying, relocate our school from that place. And I think that Governor Aminu Bello Masari is up to the task, and I'm convinced that they will do something about that. If they fail to do that, then they should not expect those children to return to school. If I were a parent, for example,
you wouldn't send your children back to the school?
Not to that school. Where it is located, I will never. I will never. It will be irresponsible of me to let the child go back there.
Don't you have anything to add?
Yeah, not even with the experience in Chibok. After the abduction and partial release of those children,
right,
we've reported so many attacks on Chibok. So how do you encourage children to go back there. We've recorded so many attacks. So, like Baba said, something must be done about that school. If you have over 800 children in a particular school, and there is danger in that area, you need to move them out.
Right.
Otherwise, it will be a continuous source of money making for bandits.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Thank you very much, Dr. But let's quickly take a listen to one of the boys who were rescued from the kidnappers' den.
Actually, they asked me to talk to the government. I'm the one who talked in the video coverage. Yes, sincerely speaking, they beat me, even tried to kill me. But I know it's just they want me to say what they want me to say, and I said they even embarrassed to kill me if I did not say anything about that. They asked me to say that they are a gang of Abu Shekau, which is leader of Boko Haram, and tell me that let me tell the government that they should send back the army and the jets. If not, they will kill us and they will kill the army and they cannot do anything to them. Me, with my own eyes, I did not see anyone that they kill. But yes, I feel very happy and thank God of all this, and thank the government even too. They work very hard to see us we are set free. And thank you once again. I can go back to the school when the school. Even all these incidents, I take it as destiny from the God. I can go back because I am a student and I want to learn. I don't know where the future goes, but I just want to learn.
The future of the students, that is paramount. Julia, that was what I was, driving at, because the future of these children are uncertain. And you pointed it rightly so that the government needs to do a lot right, that to ensure that the security of their schools is paramount. But still on the future of these children, of the boys, of the children rather in the north, what do you think the government needs to do to address this holistically so that we do not have an upsurge of insecurity in our hands when we could have nipped this in the bud at this moment?
It's unfortunate that we have this problem. I think that insecurity generally should be addressed. It's not feasible to pour soldiers into other schools. The schools in the interland, they are in danger now, because those ones will be soft targets for these guys. So if some areas are not safe, then don't open the schools there. That's what the Borno state government has done. You see a deluge of fantastic, well-built schools, and they are building structures that can take so many students, because a lot of the schools in the interland, you can't operate because it is the terrorists who rule the interland, So this is the situation. Don't open schools where safety is not guaranteed. Don't let anyone fool you that nothing will happen. We put policemen, they will put soldiers there. If you put 10 soldiers in a place, and Boko Haram comes with 50 soldiers carrying the same weapons that the soldiers who put there are carrying, there's nothing that those soldiers can do. At best, they may even take to their heels so that they can live to fight another day. So this is the thing. If an area is not safe, I don't think it makes sense to open schools. But generally, I think that we need to beef up security everywhere. Look at the incident, the Maiduguri-Damaturu highway. That area, that Jakana area, consistently, Boko Haram has been attacking people. Because just off that road, there is an unprotected cattle route, that they use. So they just come onto the highway, and the road is terrible. So you are forced to slow down. And then they will come and then be kidnapping people. So it's about time that we found a solution. If we are going to position soldiers in that area, we have to do it. We can't allow Boko Haram to be kidnapping people in the same location. That's the Jakana, Minok, Auno. Those 3 areas, they are constantly kidnapping people there. It has to stop.
Doctor, let's look at Okay, before we get on this, we have a caller. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Garba,
please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Babajide. May God bless you, Babajide. Allah and Barka. I will say this. I'm from Funtua, but I'm living in Makodi. All those things that you said, and I school in Manumfashi, you know Manumfashi. It's close to Kankara, it's just 30 kilometers. And I know that school. My brother finished from that school. And I will say this to you for brief. You see that school that you see, that high school, produced over 20 doctors. Serving in Kankara State now. I think last year or last 2 years back, there is a boy that graduated from there, that finished from there, went to ABU's area. He graduated from ABU's area. He's one of the best medical students. And now I'm speaking to you, a senator representing that was sponsored that boy from PhD. Tell you how important that school is. Students that are nurtured from that school find it very easy to beat in any science courses because they nurture them very well. They try them very well to be self-reliant. By and large, what is going on in that house is that, I'm sorry to say it, people will not be happy when I will say it. I'm going there this Friday. My sister is going to get wet down. But I'm afraid I'm being skeptical because of what is going on there. Fulani boys, I'm sorry to say it, we have to say the truth. They monopolize, they control the places around that axis. And that axis, as the major producer of food in that area, Dandume, Pakari, Funtua, Bakuri, Kankara, Manupashi, it makes the town of the governor, Kafuru.
No.
So I'm calling on the governor and community leader and religion leader to come out and say the truth. Enough is enough. Let those planning stop. All these things that they are doing. My brother was kidnapped along into a Zaria road. He confessed to me and he said it to me. Those boys that kidnapped him, you see those boys individuals that kidnapped those boys, they are supposed to know young planning boys. In their intonation, you know that their plan is they are not out. I'm calling on Fulani leaders in Nigeria at large to come out categorically condemn this nonsense. They should put end to this nonsense. This barbaric attitude has to stop.
All right, Garba, we appreciate your insight, your contribution. I understand your passion about this. It's a really, tough situation we are in this country. But thank you very much, Garba, for what you've said so far on the show. But Dr. to quickly wrap up this segment now, the military insists that it rescued the abducted schoolboys, even though some say, well, it might not be the way it turned out. What's your position on this?
Well, I won't take a categorical position. What I will say is, look, there are things that you say to Nigerians that people will accept as the truth. And there are things that you say that no matter how many times you repeat it, there's always going to be a question mark.
Yes.
There's always going to be. Because if what we hear from those children and what the military is saying to us are conflicting, then we obviously know those who were at the action spots, the students, are going to likely be the ones who are going to believe. So, but let's keep having this information coming into the public domain. Let's keep pushing it. As journalists, we are going to keep reporting, but as opinion molders, we know
we will speak our minds
where we want to be.
Is it even advisable to attempt a military operation
where you have
where you have 340? Who does
44.
That? 344. How do you attempt a military operation to rescue?
It's a bit difficult.
It's advisable. It's not advisable. If it was easy, we would have rescued the chief guests. There were times when we saw where they were. But how do you do it without killing people? And the story of those boys about how they were moved, how the bandits spoke to them, got them to line up, how they were moved to military vehicles that took them away, Nothing suggests. In fact, they were asked pointedly, was there a military operation? And those children said no. Now, if you are calling airplanes flying overhead and monitoring them as they were led from the forest to Safe and then to Guso, and ultimately to Katsina, if you are calling that rescue, then I need to check my own dictionary to see what really rescue means.
You know what happened yesterday night? Because the police gave its own version and said they engaged those who kidnapped those 80 students, those 80 Islamia students, in a gunfire. And I was wondering how you are going to engage people who had 80 children with them, plus 4 others kidnapped elsewhere.
No, if we go ahead and continue, we will end this discussion.
Some of those stories even make the rest of us look stupid. Because you should know in your heart that you can't sell that story to me.
All right, we'll leave it for another time. Perhaps we'll have more to discuss on this insecurity situation in Nigeria. But let's really take a short break. We'll have more on Journalist Hangout. Stay with us. No matter how good policy is in Nigeria, the chances of it being abused is never out of place. Now, the registration for the National Identification Number, as directed by the federal government, is one of such. And now, after government ordered service providers to block SIM cards without NIN, Nigerians who besieged registration centers to get theirs are being subjected to various abuses. Now, these include extortion, racketeering, touting, and inadequate materials at most centers. Now, all of these are making the exercise frustrating for intending registrants who have to pay between 2,500 to 3,500 naira to get registered in many places across the country. But who will save the situation? Jide, you know, it's quite tormenting hearing the process that people have to go through at the NIMC centers to have their data captured perhaps manually on the computer and all these systems when we should have gone digital in this time and age. What do you make of what we keep hearing now and then when it has to do with national matters such as this? Why are we having this situation, or why are we having this now, if I will ask that question first?
No, it was not well thought out. I believe that, one, even the notice is so short, and the time ceiling itself is so short. The National Assembly has asked the NIMC to extend the time frame, and I believe that will happen. They've got to pile so much pressure on the minister and the other stakeholders to ensure that this thing is extended to maybe like 6 months. I've given the example of the banks. The banks, when they did the bank verification exercise, you know, for each of us to have a bank verification number, they gave us ample time. And in the end, people were able to comply. You can't just, if you could only register 42 million in 10 years, and you now want 161.5 million to register within a couple of weeks, how do you intend to achieve that? How many outlets are even there for people to go and register? We are going to have crowds at a time when we are running away from COVID. We are going to be sowing the seeds of COVID. So this is the thing. I believe that reason should prevail, because sometimes government officials come up with ideas that they actually don't think through the implications before coming out. We need to integrate the data of our people. There's nothing wrong about that. I'm convinced that it's a good idea, and I will be happy if it gets done under this administration. But it's the time that is the problem. And once our people see that fellow Nigerians are under some pressure, that they are desperate, that is when the extortion comes in. I've heard of people being made to pay 2,000 naira before they can attend to them and all that. So it's because they know that people are desperate. They know that there's this time frame that is extremely short. They know that people do not want to lose their lines. You know, they don't want to face the risk of their lines being blocked, so they will do whatever is necessary. These phones have become a part of our lives. To most people, it's like breathing in and breathing out. You see Nigerians behaving like their lives depend on these phones. even inside the aircraft. They are telling you, switch off your phone, you still see them. The aircraft is about to take off. It's already getting set to take off. You still see some people until they come to them and mandate them to, force them to turn off their phones. They will not. This is the way we are. So you can imagine a business person who knows that he risks the possibility of losing so much business, so much money, if his line gets blocked. He's going to do whatever it takes. Yes, it was wrong of our people not to have keyed into this idea before now. But even at that, it's not enough to simply say in 2 weeks. I won't be surprised if people sue if some people get up to sue the minister.
The minister, yeah.
Because this idea is just like he wants to sell COVID to people. But people will jam all of these outlets, and a lot of racketeering that they are talking about will happen.
Will continue going on. Quite an analysis from Jide's perspective on this, but Dr. Seeing that this is another likelihood for COVID-19 to spread if the government continues with this mandate, as it were, what is the actual process in getting a national identity number? Do you have an idea of the existing process?
Well, I've been there. I was there with my family. Just my own experience now. I went to one of the offices in Lagos. I got there at about 6:30 a.m. I didn't go with my family. I just wanted to find out what it was. That morning, I was told if I could bring them in and all the rest. So we went back. But it is the usual kind of civil service orientation and experience that we saw there. The day I went, the woman managing that center almost ran mad. Because out of the 15 cubicles where Nigerians ought to be attended to, only 2 staff showed up that day. What we call, my daughter is ill. She will call another person. That person will say, I've been down since yesterday night. I can't even move. So, those who were managers and were supposed to be arranging people to make the place order, they now have to occasionally go on those systems and be registering people. You had all the systems, about 15, and only 2 of those to register that they show up at work. So it's the normal civil service setup where there is no regard for people. In the private sector, you can't wake up one day and tell your employer, so my name is Babajide, I can't come for journalist hangout today because my daughter is sick. Or you say the same thing today, maybe my mother just came from the village. That's what is happening in those places. So there is no way you are not going to become
overwhelmed.
Even if you are going to say that, before they accuse of exaggerating,
yes, sir.
Even if you are going to say that, it's not going to be short. That notice won't be so short because it suggests that you don't even respect your employer.
Exactly.
If it's at the last minute that you call.
Yeah, you are calling.
No, you can't do that.
Then somebody must even be sure.
So that they can get someone to do your
understanding.
If you are a bank teller, for example, you are going to inform them, I have this problem. Not at the point when they are expecting you in the office.
You have to for your boss to be calling you before you are saying so.
You won't wait until you are called. You are going to let them know in good time that this is what has happened so that they can make contingency plans, get you replaced, and someone else can do that job. If there are about 15 outlets and they are unmanned, you can see why the rate of registration is so slow. There are people in my area, I see them. I'm going to work, I see them that day every day. It's just like during the registration for PVC. That was the same way we made our people suffer. People will go and queue from 5 a.m., they will take numbers.
That day when I got there at 6:30, there were over 400 names. And some of them...
At 6:30?
Yes.
In the morning?
And some of them had families, So it's like you are looking
just
at
wanted to do it
100, and then from the 100 list, maybe each family has come with 4. Meaning that you are talking of about 400 people already on the list. So and then for me
to be attended to by 2 persons.
By 2. And then for me also, what has happened was my fear when the NIMC was moved to the Ministry of Digital Economy, I told people close to me, I said, I hope this minister will be able to manage the challenges that will come with moving this fiscal agency because of youthful exuberance.
Yes.
And he has shown very clearly, because even if you have, even as minister, you have taken this to the Federal Executive Council and it was approved, it shows that you did not think through this issue properly. It shows it. So
it's not even practicable to register 161.5 million people
in 2
weeks.
So,
because we have to look at it even scientifically.
Right.
How many outlets are you in? Then, what is your capacity? What is your capacity in a month? Your in-stock capacity. Yes, they've now said, okay, 173 vendors will help to register. Even at that, look at what is practicable. How many computers do they have? Each of those 173. Then how many can they register in a day? You now bounce that against the number of days that you have left. Did the minister do this? I'm convinced that he didn't think this thing through totally. And just as I said, occasionally we see flashes of useful exuberance. Though it's not extremely young, but someone who could be getting up to interrupt Dambata when he was addressing, and the president was there, getting up repeatedly to interrupt the executive vice chairman
Communications Commission.
I mean, it was really unnecessary.
Okay, but you know, when you mention this thing, because it clearly shows that there are certain factors were being put in place if we're to look at what you've been discussing so far. But do you think perhaps this process of linking NIN with a SIM registration could have been the best bet, GD?
There's nothing wrong about it. In fact, it's good. A lot of the people who kidnap us and stay in the bush, they are not Nigerians. Foreigners from Mauritania, from different countries around Nigeria. They are not Nigerians, a lot of them. I've interviewed bandits. I've interviewed bandits in Katsina, in Shimfida. I have spoken to victims of bandits, and they tell me that a lot of these kidnappers are not Nigerians. Yeah, yes, they may be Fulani, but it's not only in Nigeria that you have Fulani. Fulani in Cameroon. I've said before that the former president of Cameroon, Ahijo was Fulani now.
We have them in Niger Republic.
They are everywhere. So, but they are not Nigerians. They are illegal aliens killing our people, and they stay in the bush. So it means now that for such people, we may just once they do not come out to do this thing, then they will be able to use their lines, because it is their lines that they use to negotiate for ransom. We've got to find a way to deal with the situation. Why should bandits have the audacity? You kidnap someone, you are using your own phone line. Are we so ineffectual? The bandits will believe that whatever happens, even if I call with this phone,
they won't trace.
They won't be able to trace me. And the technology to track this thing, it's not that costly. We can get the Dangotes of this world. We can get the Abdul Samad, the Sakarabi of this world. We can get them to say, see, we are giving you tax holiday for so period. We want to get some of this high-tech equipment for the police. So what Abba Kyari uses, every police command in our country, state command, should have it. But what do? They will write, if you have a complaint, you want to catch, you press write to Abuja. Abuja will now
bureaucratic process.
They will now give Abba Kyari and his people
who are already overwhelmed.
We give them. I learned that they even brought him to Kankara.
Yes, well, he's still. I think he's still there.
Okay, so you don't have to overburden the young man. All the state commands should be able to have it. Thanks to the former IG who brought that equipment. I don't know how he managed to do it, but he got it into the country. It's useful to us now. We can see the exploits that Abba Kyari is is doing with the thing. If we make sure, and even RRS2 here in Lagos, they have similar equipment. If you steal someone's phone in Lagos, they will catch you. They will catch you. So this is the thing. We need to be able to have everyone registered,
right?
So that all these terrible people coming to our country to rape our women, to steal cattle here, will be able to deal with them using their biometrics and data to locate everybody.
Do you have last thought?
Yes, and just one more. When we do register them, eventually, we should be able to have a database where these things can be referred to. Because you see, now the telcos, you have a problem with them. Sometimes they bounce you off and say you are not registered. For instance, I will mention the network. A particular network that I use, I've gone to register more than 10 times, and I've been using this time over 5 years. Each time you say you are yet to be registered, I go there, they take my photograph, it bounces off again. And I pray, like I've been saying, this also does not happen to the database of the Independent National Electoral Commission, because it will be disastrous if in another 3-4 years they tell all of us to come and register.
Well, let's hope it doesn't happen. Thanks a lot for that point taken there, Dr. But before we go, the last segment of the show, after about 16 months of closure of the land borders by the federal government for economic and security reasons, 4 are now opened, and they are Seme, Ilela, Mfon, and Maigatari borders. Others are awaiting reopening by 31st of December. And counting the gains of the exercise, the federal government says Nigeria's customs seized 90 pump-action guns, 5,676 cartridges, and 1,957 vehicles and 895 motorcycles during the seizure. And other items seized include 57,000 bags of rice, 10,447 bags of fertilizers, and many more, with a total monetary value of 12.36 billion naira. So, Jide, now we have the borders open, but there are fears that we are seeing a spike in COVID-19, and yet we're opening the land borders, even though it is for economic reasons or security, as it were. What are your thoughts on this reopening?
Well, I think that makes sense to reopen the borders. It shouldn't even happen if we were able to keep our borders safe. Because the whole idea was, the president was angry about the attitude of our neighbors, especially the way they were sabotaging the efforts of the federal government to grow rice, in substantial quantity and be able to feed our people. But rice kept coming in through the land borders, and importation of rice and some other products like vegetable oil, poultry products and co had been banned through the land borders. Of course, people still bring in basmati rice and the rest of them, but not through the land borders. The plan was to see how we could help our farmers to grow. Because clearly, let's face it, the imported rice, in terms of the is far more pleasing on the eye than our own rice. I don't believe it's more nutritious.
Absolutely.
I do not see any evidence that it's more nutritious, but our people had grown used to this imported rice. They believe that our own rice, you cannot do jollof rice with it successfully. No, I'm not a chef. It's you women who.
No, but funny enough, I patronize Nigerian rice, and they are better. Yes, I do jollof with it. I do fried rice, and it comes out nutritious and tasty.
What is their complaint about?
Well, maybe because it's not as long as
long grain.
Exactly, the long grain that you normally see in your plate.
What's up now? Okay.
It swells, but it still breaks. It's not as finely long as you would see it and eat and enjoy, but it still has the same nutritious.
Yeah,
it is nutritious actually.
We can get there. We'll get there one day.
Must we even eat jollof rice?
No, we can eat
jollof rice.
But the thing is, I believe that we can even, because we can grow long grain rice here now. I think Dangote even has a farm for long grain rice here, and the quality will improve with time. I remember buying rice in Taraba State, and there was not a single stone inside, not one, because they now have equipment that helps them to sort out the stones, you know. But as I'm saying, shortening of your borders is not supposed to happen, because the whole reason behind shortening the borders you can achieve if you work on the efficiency of the people who police the borders. For example, the customs people, get them to take greater steps to secure our borders, you know. We can achieve that. But to simply shut the borders, and we are in ECOWAS, and we are all aware of the ECOWAS treaty of non-inhibition of movement of goods and services and all that. So, and that's why our friends, our neighbors are angry with us, especially Ghana. You know, because a lot of the small and medium-scale enterprises were affected. You know, people bring in some of those goods into Nigeria, even Benin, bring in like pineapples and some other things that help the small and medium-scale entrepreneurs to make money. So it was really, but we felt we needed to do something about smuggling, especially of petroleum products across the border, and it helped us to discover just how many millions of liters we need on a given day. By the time the smuggling stopped, we were able to discover that we do not need as much as we normally would set aside for our people, because a lot of it used to go out. A lot of tankers used to just go outside of our country. So we were actually subsidizing petroleum product for our neighbors. People who are not Nigerians, they were benefiting from the subsidy that, for the citizens. That is meant for the citizens. So this is the thing. But when I look at even some of the achievements that were recorded, I believe that with effective policing of our borders and with the employment of technology, we can still achieve some of this without simply shortening the borders the way we have done. In any case, I was also listening to Senator Fadansi, who is one of the most talented customs officers of his generation.
From states.
Yeah. He was talking about the fact that even people were still containerizing rice and sending it to Port Harcourt and other places. Sending it to, I think, on airport or something, you know. So we just need to be more proactive. We need to be more effective in policing those borders, because from the way we are seeing a spike in insecurity, you know that weapons are still coming in. So the illegal entry points, we need to identify them and block them, because weapons are still coming in, you know, into our country. If we are able to block the avenues through which these illicit weapons are coming in, we will see improvement even in security, because they need weapons. You can imagine, can Boko Haram fight, for example, without weapons? Absolutely not. They can't. So there's still a lot of work. I commend the Customs Service for what they've done. Recovered 10,447 bags of fertilizers, 18,630 jerrycans of vegetable oil. You know, 74,307 jerrycans of petrol, 1,957 vehicles. It's a tremendous work that they've done, but
a lot more is expected.
A lot more, especially in areas that we know are prone to smuggling of arms. Yes.
Now, Dr., from what he said so far, from DJ's position, definitely still a lot of work needs to be done to secure our borders if we're to talk about sparing the lives of Nigerians. But what's your position on this reopening of the borders? Do you think the time is ripe for this?
like you said, in the first place, we shouldn't even have locked the borders if we had done what we were supposed to do. There are basic things that we shouldn't even compromise on. One of them is usage of technology in manning our borders. It's worrisome that even before the reopening of the borders, which is where I feel we should focus on, arms and ammunition were being seized. Just about the time the government announced the reopening, the Federal Operations Units, Zone B of the Nigerian Customs Service, in Kebbi, took in 73 guns, 891 cartridges, and so many others, when it wasn't opened. Now imagine when it is open. So for me, at that level, I think that is what we should focus on at the border. The other side of it, which is bringing in food, other things that we can produce here, I think we can tackle
frozen food.
Yes, frozen foods. I think we should tackle that internally. If, for instance, we have the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture giving us all these their wonderful ideas and all the rest, and we can't tap into it, and there is a cheaper means of bringing it in, there's nothing you can do. People will keep doing all they need to do to bring it in. So I think it is here internally that we should start tackling that. Our rice, they are good enough. There was a year somebody sent me 2 bags of rice.
It's killing people.
Yeah, it's
somebody brought me sent me 2 bags of barbecue rice. I couldn't share with anyone after tasting it the first time. I couldn't, because it's so good.
It looks like foreign rice.
It looks like foreign. And the other day, maybe even if I disagree with Governor David Umahi, I asked the other day, I said, look, this thing that you are ordering in this state is too good for people in Nigeria not to have. He said, even we are still struggling to give our people.
That's the thing.
So why can't we deploy technology and produce these things and
produce a lot more
that will come out from outside the country costlier than what we are producing internally? And are you talking of woodland to farm?
We have enough.
We have enough. So why can't we put in the right policies and stop patronizing political farmers? Let the real farmers, those who are going to do the job.
Fake farmers.
Yes, fake ones. Let them have access to funds. We'll be hearing CBN has brought out so billion. Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, all the banks are setting aside money. Where is this money? Where is it going?
The real end users, they
don't have it. So we need to, at that point, ensure that we get it right. If we still are at this level, there is no way we can stop smuggling.
Even the cost of production is high.
It's higher. Yeah.
I remember someone telling me that, look, we have to, if you have a rice farm and it's upland, you have to constantly water it, yes, and you buy petrol. At the point when petrol was costly, where we had scarcity of petrol sometime, he said, how do we get petrol? You need petrol to water it. You can see, if you look at this picture, the still shows, you see even the hose, the water hose.
Yeah, it's there.
You know, you have to water it. So, and it costs money.
Irrigation.
By the time you look at all of the cost of production, because the cost of production is higher here than over there, inevitably the price of the imported stuff will be lower than our own. So they won't be able to compete. That is the problem. All of this problem we are having around our currency. Look at people bring in eggs.
From South Africa, from Uganda, from all the rest.
You go to ShopRite and all of this, you see foreign eggs. When we can produce more than enough. Ibadan is the poultry hub of West Africa. Is it a layer or what? That area. People come from Togo, from the Republic, to come and buy their old chicks and all that. We can produce more than enough. But they are finding life difficult. Farmers are finding life difficult. They can't get grains. Even the maize is extremely expensive. Some of them are trying to even quit the business. So with that situation, foreign products will come in. They will be a lot cheaper than our own. If you are selling a bag of local rice at about 30,000, and the foreign rice is not more than 25. Whereas, even looking at it, you know that one is more pleasing on the eye than the other. Why won't you go for that one that looks pleasing on the eye?
Exactly.
So there's a lot that we need to do to also bring down the costs.
Yes. Let me also add to that.
Right.
Look at the issue of vehicles that have been smuggled now. There was a time in this country you find more pojos on the streets.
Yes.
Toyotas dominate now because the plant in Kaduna is dead. So what is happening to us? In Ibadan, you had Tata. Lagos, you had Volkswagen. You had them all over. So what has happened to us? It is simply because of what you have said. The cost of production is higher. So when somebody is giving you a Pojo in Nigeria for 7 million and Toyota is coming in at 3 million, no matter how patriotic you are, no matter how patriotic, even our lawmakers, they don't use Pojo.
I don't want the available.
It's not readily available. Because it's not just there. So how do you now want to compete? There is no way, as we say, that the smuggling will not continue.
So in a nutshell, Dide, if you were to look at all that you've said so far, definitely there is a lot the government needs to do in terms of just opening the borders for the sake of people just having, business for the fun of it, not really actually. But what is your final closing thoughts on this situation as we go into the new year and hope for the best for our economy? What's your final thoughts?
I think for the customs, even the areas through which they are experiencing leakages, they need to be blocked. We can get a lot more from customs than we are getting currently. Then we also need to do something about our ports. The congestion is a big problem. Someone was suggesting the other day that demurrage should be waived because even the access road to the port is a big problem. And then you bring the cost on the entrepreneur. People divert their product to Benin Republic to clear to their ports in Benin. And we are losing money because they know that over there they will be able to get around the issue of clearing their goods a lot faster. We have come up with all kinds of measures to reduce port congestion. We've not succeeded. It's a lot difficult for people to clear their goods in our country. A lot more difficult than any other place. So that issue should be addressed. It has to be addressed. I believe that the customs have the capacity to generate much more than they are doing. The transparency has to be there.
Right.
They need to generate a lot more than they are doing currently so that we do not just rely excessively on petrodollar. We have to look at other sources of revenue generation so that gradually we move away from this over-dependence on petrodollar.
Right. Final thoughts, Dotun.
Well, I align with him. We should just ensure we do those things that will make goods and services cheaper in Nigeria than what obtains from abroad when we import.
Indeed, and that's a fine place to leave it. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Dotun Oladipo, thank you very much for your insights. And as usual, our in-house guest, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, thank you very much for insights on the show. And that's all on Journalists Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for a regular episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this edition tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.